My cheating fiancé's friends physically attacked me after I refused to marry her, so I pressed charges and sent them all to jail. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. Our channel has been losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, it's free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world to us, so let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now, let's start the video throwaway account here, because some of this is still going through the legal system, and my main account would be way too easy to identify. Honestly, even now, I have trouble believing all of this actually happened to me. What started out as a normal engagement somehow ended with 3 people in state prison, 2 on probation, my ex facing jail time, and her lawyer boyfriend probably getting disbarred. Just typing that out feels surreal. So let me back up and give you some background, because you really need to understand how we got here. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and my ex-fiancée, we'll call her Katie, 29, came into my life about 4 years ago. We met at the sports bar I manage. Yeah, I know what you might be thinking. Manager at a sports bar, not exactly the most glamorous career. But truthfully, I love my job. I started out as a bartender right after college, with a business degree I never really used. I worked my way up, and now I run one of the most successful locations in our chain. We do great business, have loyal regulars, and my staff actually likes working there, which is rare in this industry. Katie, on the other hand, was this super successful real estate agent, the type who posts those humble brag LinkedIn updates every week. Just sold another $1 million property. The first night I met her, she came in with her high school friend group. All of them were crazy successful on paper. 2 corporate lawyers, a dermatologist, a hedge fund finance guy, and a big tech marketing director. They were celebrating a birthday that night and spent over $600 on drinks and appetizers. Katie kept coming back after that, usually during my shifts. We hit it off fast. She loved that I could make her laugh, and I admired how driven she was. But her friends? Looking back now, there were definitely red flags. They'd make these little comments about my job like, "Oh, it's nice that you're happy where you are," or "Have you ever thought about getting into corporate management?" Subtle digs. But when you're falling for someone, you brush that stuff off. Things moved quickly. Within 3 months, Katie was practically living at my place. By the 1-year mark, we officially moved in together. I had a nice 2-bedroom apartment in a modern downtown building. Nothing too fancy, but it had a doorman and security cameras, which, trust me, will become important later. The lease was in my name since I had better credit and had been there longer. Life was good for a while. Katie was crushing it in real estate. She made more than double what I did, something her friends never let me forget, but we were happy. I was moving up too. I got promoted to general manager, and later I was put in charge of training new managers for other locations. Our families got along well. Her parents were sweet and treated me like a son. My parents loved how ambitious she was. By last December, I decided to propose. I planned a weekend getaway at a mountain resort about 3 hours away. Private dinner overlooking a lake, ring hidden in dessert, the whole cheesy but romantic setup. Katie said yes. We spent that weekend celebrating and immediately dove into wedding planning. We set the date for October, before it got too cold, but after the expensive summer rush. Her parents even offered to pay for most of it. They put down about $40,000 in deposits for the venue, catering, flowers, everything. That's when things started to get weird. Suddenly, Katie's friends had to be involved in every single wedding decision. The color scheme, the menu, the seating chart, they all had to go through them first. It was exhausting. Their comments about my job got nastier too. Things like, "Are you sure you want the wedding at 6 p.m? Won't OP have to work?" Or, "Maybe do dress shopping on a Tuesday since it's probably slow at the sports bar." Constant little digs, and Katie never stood up for me. She'd either laugh it off or worse, agree with them. Then I noticed other changes. She started working late all the time, claiming she had emergency showings. She changed her phone password, kept it face down constantly. You know, classic cheating behavior. but I trusted her. Or maybe I was just being stupid. Here's where it really blew up. We have this regular at the bar, let's call her Sarah. Mid-30s, works in HR, comes every Wednesday for trivia night with her coworkers. Super nice, tips well, never a problem. But one Wednesday, Sarah seemed off. She kept looking at her phone, then at me, then back at her phone. During breaks, she barely talked to her friends. Finally, she waved me over and asked if we could talk privately. I figured maybe there was an issue with another customer, so I took her to the little office by the kitchen. But she looked so uncomfortable, like she was about to tell me somebody died. She fidgets with her phone case and says, "I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, but I would want someone to tell me if it was my relationship." Turns out, her sister Jenny works at this super fancy salon downtown, the kind where a haircut costs more than my rent. Katie had been going there for about a year, always booking, when I was at work. That morning, Katie came in for highlights, and she spent the entire 2-hour appointment on the phone with someone she kept calling babe and baby. Jenny overheard everything. Katie was laughing, making plans for a weekend getaway, and even said her idiot fiancé, me, would think she was at a real estate conference. I was stunned. I tried to rationalize. Maybe it was a girlfriend? Some women call their friends babe, right? But Sarah wasn't finished. She pulled out her phone and showed me an Instagram story her sister sent her. It was from a fancy restaurant 2 towns over, posted by some random person celebrating their engagement. But in the background of their champagne toast, clear as day, was Katie. Katie, cuddled up with some guy in an expensive suit. The timestamp? 4:47 p.m. That same night at 9:52, Katie sent me a selfie from girls' night, face masks, wine, the whole stage setup. She had literally faked an entire night to cover her date. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. I thanked Sarah. What else could I say? She kept apologizing over and over. I told her she did the right thing, comped her group's tab, and went back to work. Still had 5 hours left on my shift, just running on autopilot. Instead of confronting Katie right away, I decided to dig deeper. See? We had a shared iPad at home for Netflix. Months earlier, Katie had logged into her iCloud on it when her phone was getting repaired, and she apparently forgot about it. That night, while she was sleeping at a friend's house, yeah, right, I opened the iPad. Holy hell, there were hundreds of messages between Katie and her ex. Let's call him Michael. This wasn't some random fling. They had been hooking up at a fancy hotel near his office for months, since February. The messages were graphic. I'll spare you the details. But it wasn't just sex. They were mocking me, planning their future, talking about doing it right. This time. And the worst part? All of her friends knew. Every single one of them. The group chat was full of them, giving her advice on hiding it better. Jokes about my job. At least Michael can afford a real restaurant, not just bar food. Coaching her on excuses if I got suspicious, even encouraging her to wait until after the wedding because she'd get more money in the divorce. I screenshotted everything, sent it to my email, backed it up to Google Drive, even took photos of the iPad screen, just in case. The messages went back months. Every girls' night, every work event, every conference, she was with him. And her friends weren't just covering, they were actively planning it. One message gutted me the most. The night I proposed, while I was nervously practicing my speech at dinner, Katie texted him. "Don't worry, baby. This doesn't change anything. It's just business. You're the one I really love." I didn't sleep at all. I just sat in the living room, scrolling through months of lies, wondering how someone could be this cruel. How do you sleep next to me every night, plan a wedding, a future, while plotting my destruction? The next evening, she came home around 7 p.m., supposedly from showing houses. But I already knew from the messages, she'd just been at Michael's place. I was ready. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just handed her the iPad, open to their messages. And that's where I'll pause for now. She bounced into the apartment, all happy, talking about how she had shown 3 houses that day. Narrator's note, she did not show any houses that day. I let her ramble for a minute while she set her stuff down. She even had the nerve to ask what I wanted for dinner, like everything was normal. I'd spent the whole day rehearsing what I was going to say, but when the moment finally came, I couldn't even get the words out. I just handed her the iPad, already open to her messages with Michael. She tried to play it cool for maybe 2 seconds, saying, "What am I supposed to be looking at?" But then she saw the date on the messages, and she literally dropped the iPad onto our coffee table. You ever see someone's entire face change like their mask just falls off? That's what happened. She went from confused to panicked to furious in about 5 seconds flat. She started screaming at me, saying I had invaded her privacy and had no right to go through her messages. Like seriously, that's what she was worried about? I stayed quiet. Thank God for bartender experience and learning how to keep your cool. I just kept scrolling through her messages while she freaked out. Then I got to the ones from the night I proposed. I handed her the iPad again and read it out loud. She didn't even try to deny it. She just started crying. But not sorry. Crying. This was full-on manipulation crying, the kind meant to make you feel guilty for catching them. She kept saying it was just a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, and that Michael was her past while I was her future. Spoiler alert. According to her own messages, I wasn't her future. I was her meal ticket until she could divorce me for more money. And here's the best part. She actually tried to blame me. Said I was emotionally unavailable because I work nights at the bar. Said she was lonely and that Michael understood her better because they came from similar backgrounds. Then she dropped this gem. If you hadn't gone through my private messages, we could have been happy. That's when I finally lost my cool a little. I wasn't yelling, but I definitely wasn't calm anymore. I asked her if we could really have been happy while she was letting her friends plan our wedding and her divorce at the same time. Asked her how many of our special moments she ruined by texting him. Engagement, holidays, birthdays. There were messages to him within hours of every single one. She switched tactics fast, faster than a politician during election season. Suddenly it wasn't about love anymore. It was all about logistics. The wedding deposits, how her parents had already paid for everything, what people would think. Not one word about actually being sorry. Not one word about loving me. Just money and appearances. I told her the wedding was obviously off and gave her 30 days to move out. I made sure to phrase it exactly as per our state's tenant laws, because I'd Googled that during the day, even though she wasn't. On the lease, she'd lived there long enough to have tenant rights. I was pissed, not stupid. That's when she pulled out her phone. I figured she was calling her mom or something. Nope, she was texting the group chat. Remember those successful, professional friends? Yeah. She was calling in the cavalry. "You're going to regret this," she said while typing away. "You have no idea who you're messing with." I actually laughed. Like, what was this, a bad mob movie? I told her she had 30 days to get her stuff and get out, and that I was going to stay at my buddy's place tonight to give her space if she wanted to start packing. I started throwing some clothes and work stuff into a bag. Meanwhile, she was still typing, crying, but also smirking. That should have been my first warning that something was really, really wrong. I was almost to the door when she said, "They're already on their way. You should wait to hear their side of this." Now, I'm not a small guy. I work at a bar. I know how to handle myself if things get rowdy. But something in her voice made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, so I decided to start recording on my phone, just in case. Thank God I did. I made it about halfway to my car when I saw them pull into the parking lot. 2 separate cars, 5 of her friends, the 2 lawyers, the finance executive, the doctor, and the marketing director. They weren't dressed for work anymore. They looked like they'd all come straight from the gym or something, and they did not look happy. So there I am, in the parking lot. 5 angry women climbing out of their cars, Katie watching smugly from our apartment balcony, my phone recording. In my pocket. I'm trying to decide whether to go back inside or try to get to my car. Before I can, Hannah, the finance executive, starts screaming that I'm an abusive piece of garbage and that they're not going to let me hurt Katie anymore. The other 4 spread out, trying to block my path to both my car and the building entrance. Rachel, lawyer number 1, pulls out her phone and starts recording, saying loudly, "We're just here to help Katie get her things safely. No one wants any violence." Meanwhile, Jessica, lawyer number 2, is texting something and grinning like this is all just a big joke. The doctor, Maria, and the marketing director, Ashley, are standing there looking nervous but trying to act tough. I kept my voice calm, held my hands up where they could see them, and said, "I've given Katie 30 days' notice as required by law. I'm leaving for the night to give her space to pack. Please don't make this worse." That's when Hannah got right up in my face. She's screaming about how they know all about my abuse and how they're not going to let Katie spend another night with a monster like me. I kept backing up, still holding my hands up, saying, "There are security cameras everywhere. I'm recording this. Please just let me leave." Looking back, mentioning the recording was my mistake because Rachel immediately shouted, "He's threatening to release private recordings of Katie. Get his phone." And that's when everything went completely insane. Hannah lunged for my jacket pocket where my phone was. I turned to protect it, and Jessica tackled me from behind, full-on rugby tackle. Found out later during the trial she actually played rugby in college, so yeah, she knew exactly what she was doing. I'm 6'1". She's maybe 5'4". But she had me down on the ground, trying to put me in some kind of hold. Hannah started kicking me while Rachel kept recording and yelling, "Stop resisting! Why are you fighting back?" Maria and Ashley just stood there, looking terrified but not helping. I was trying my hardest not to fight back, because I knew how this looked, big guy versus 5 women. So I just tried to protect my head and not hurt anyone. And then Katie came running out of the apartment, and what was she carrying? Our kitchen knife set, not one knife, the entire wooden block. She was screaming that I needed to learn my lesson and started handing out knives to her friends. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I started panicking. Jessica still had me pinned. Hannah was kicking me. And now they all had knives. I managed to get one arm free and pull out my phone. Hit the emergency SOS button, the iPhone feature where you click the power button 5 times fast and it auto-dials 911. I started screaming, "The police are coming!" as loud as I could, hoping someone in the building would hear. Rachel, still recording, yelled, "No one will believe you!" And then, Jesus, Hannah stabbed me. Actually stabbed me. In the arm. Not super deep because I jerked away, but deep enough that I'd later need 12 stitches. There was blood everywhere. That must have freaked out Maria and Ashley because they started backing away. The next minute or two was a blur. I remember Katie screaming, "Finish it!" from behind me, Hannah trying to stab me again, Jessica yelling, "Hold him still!" and then sirens, lots of them. Suddenly the parking lot was full of cop cars. Thank God. One of my neighbors had seen what was happening and also called 911, so the police already knew it was serious. Cops came in with guns drawn, ordering everyone to drop the weapons. Hannah and Jessica tried to run but didn't make it far. Rachel kept recording, refusing to drop her phone until a cop tackled her. And Katie? She was still standing there with the whole knife block, screaming that I had attacked them and they were just defending themselves. Meanwhile, I'm bleeding, out, clearly not fighting back, and everything's caught on at least 3 different cameras. My phone, the building security system, and Rachel's dumbass live stream. The next few hours were a blur. Ambulance ride, ER, police interviews, lots of photos of my injuries. Besides the stab wound, I had 2 broken ribs, a concussion, and I looked like I'd just gone 10 rounds with a UFC fighter. But here's the real kicker. While I was in the football ER, those idiots were at the police station arguing with cops about getting their phones back so they could delete some personal stuff. Rachel, yes, a lawyer, actually said, "If you look at our group chat, it will be misinterpreted." The next few days after the attack were insane. That first night in the ER, I got stitches and treatment. Pro tip, when the nurse asks your pain level and you say 4 or 5 while having broken ribs, they just assume you're being a tough guy and give you the good painkillers anyway. While I was getting patched up, a victim advocate from the DA's office came in. She started explaining all this legal stuff, but I was high as a kite on whatever they gave me. The one thing I remember clearly, she said, "This is the most clear-cut case of premeditated assault I've seen in years," and she had no idea. How right she was. Meanwhile, Katie and her psycho squad were having their own fun night in county jail. They were put in separate cells because they wouldn't stop trying to coordinate their stories. Rachel, the lawyer, kept demanding her one phone call like this was some TV show. Jessica tried the "Do you know who I am?" card. And Hannah, the one who stabbed me, had a full meltdown when they took her designer jacket as evidence because it had my blood on it. Here's where it gets good. Remember how Rachel was recording everything? She wasn't just recording, she was live streaming to their private Instagram group. The cops got a warrant for their phones and social media, and what they found? Unreal. Not just the attack, but months of them planning it. Their group chat was a goldmine. These sophisticated professionals had literally written out their plan like it was a damn PowerPoint. Provoke me until I snapped. Record me being abusive, aka defending myself. Edit the videos to make me look bad. File false. Domestic violence charges. Get me arrested and evicted from my own apartment. Move Katie in with Michael while I was stuck in jail. Wait until after the wedding date. Have Katie file for divorce claiming emotional distress. Use the edited videos to get a bigger settlement. It was all there. Messages about the best camera, angles, who would do what, and the cherry on top. They used their corporate work phones to plan the entire thing. But wait, it gets better. 2 days after the attack, while I was still in the hospital, Katie actually showed up at my work. She started telling my staff and customers that I was abusive, that I had attacked her friends, and that everyone needed to know the truth about me. My assistant manager, shout out to Dave, you're a real one, got the whole thing on security cameras and called the cops. She did this 3 more times before they finally arrested her for violating the emergency restraining order that had already been put in place. Each time she showed up, she'd bring a different friend, Maria or Ashley, the two who weren't, in jail, to witness her telling the story. They even filmed it, probably thinking they were gathering evidence. Spoiler alert, those videos ended up being used against them instead. Then Michael, remember him? The lawyer boyfriend? Got involved. This genius started sending threatening emails to me and to the cops who arrested his girlfriend's friends. We're talking full-on movie villain lines like, "You don't know who you're dealing with," and "I have friends in the DA's office," and "This will all go away if you drop the charges." He sent these from his actual law firm email. A licensed attorney threatening both a victim and law enforcement using his verified work email. The DA's office was practically salivating when they got those. About a week after the attack, their high-powered defense attorneys showed up for the bail hearing. They looked like they'd walked straight off a TV show set, confident, smug, talking about their clients' stellar reputations and community standing. The judge, this older guy, looked like he was about to fall asleep during the whole speech. Then the prosecutor stood up and just started dropping bombs. Full security footage from multiple building cameras, my phone recording, Rachel's live stream, the group chat messages, screenshots of them Googling things like how to make self-defense, look real, and what happens if you stab someone in self-defense. The threats from Michael Katie's harassment at my work, my medical records showing defensive wounds, only witness statements from neighbors, a knife with Hannah's fingerprints and my DNA on it, the judge's face, OMG. He went from sleepy grandpa to stone-cold fury in about 2 seconds. He set their bail at $500,000 each. Hannah, Jessica, and Rachel had to surrender their passports and wear ankle monitors because they were considered flight risks. Apparently, they all had international accounts and properties. Maria and Ashley, the two who didn't participate directly in the actual attack, got lesser charges and lower bail, but still had to wear monitors. Katie got hit with conspiracy charges and had to surrender her passport too. But the real bombshell dropped about 2 weeks later. Ashley, who had been spiraling since the attack, finally cracked. Her lawyer contacted the DA's office saying she wanted to make a deal. Turned out she had another group chat that the others didn't know, about where they'd been even more explicit about their plans. She had voice messages from Katie talking about how they'd practiced the attack at Maria's home gym, videos of them discussing how to make it look like self-defense, messages about how they chose my apartment specifically because they knew where the security cameras were and thought they could use the footage to their advantage. The best part? She had a video of them all celebrating at some wine bar after Katie got engaged, planning how they'd help her get a better divorce settlement by setting me up. This was literally from the night I proposed. While I was texting our families the happy news, they were already planning how to destroy my life. The trial started in November, about 7 months after the attack. Those months were rough. Katie and her 2 friends who weren't in jail, Maria and Ashley, kept trying to spread lies about me around town. They made fake social media accounts to post edited clips from the attack, tried contacting my employees to dig up dirt, even showed up at my parents' house to tell their side of the story. My lawyer, provided by the DA's office since this was a criminal case, was this tiny woman in her 50s who looked like everybody's favorite aunt, but in court she was scary as hell. First thing she told me was, document everything and don't respond to any attempts at contact. So that's what I did. Every fake account, every harassment attempt, every little thing went into a folder. All of it just made their case worse. The trial itself was surreal. Their defense strategy was interesting. They tried claiming they were protecting Katie from an abusive relationship, despite zero evidence of abuse, and that they acted in self-defense, despite literally bringing knives to attack me. Their lawyers kept trying to paint me as this violent, controlling boyfriend because I, checks notes, caught their client cheating and asked her to move out. Like what? I had to testify for 2 full days. Their lawyers tried every trick in the book to make me lose my cool. They called me a liar, suggested I was the real abuser, even tried to make it seem like I was homophobic because I didn't want Katie hanging out with her friends alone. You know, while she was cheating on me. But bartending teaches you to stay calm when people are being assholes, so I just kept telling the truth. The prosecution's case was beautiful to watch. They had a huge TV screen set up in the courtroom and showed everything in chronological order. Security footage of them arriving at my apartment and spreading out to trap me. My phone recording of them attacking me. Rachel's live stream showing. Them with the knives building security footage of the actual attack police body cam footage, of them being arrested video of Katie harassing me at work screenshots, of their group chats, planning everything. Michael's threatening emails, medical photos. Of my injuries, the knife with Hannah's prints in my blood, but the real star was Ashley's testimony. She'd taken the plea deal, smart move, and laid everything out. She told the jury how they'd planned this for months, how Katie had been cheating since before the engagement, but wanted to wait for the wedding because she thought she'd get more money in a divorce, how they'd actually practiced the attack at Maria's gym, planning how to make it look like self-defense. The jury's faces during her testimony were priceless. These weren't just some friends who got carried away protecting their friend. This was a calculated plan to set me up, get me arrested, and help Katie scam me in a divorce. Then Katie took the stand to defend her friends. Stupid move. Holy shit, what a disaster. The prosecutor let her talk herself right into a confession. She started out all tearful about how scared she was of me, despite zero evidence and despite living with me voluntarily. Then she got mad when they showed her messages planning the attack and started yelling about how I deserved it for going through her iPad. The worst part? She accidentally mentioned that Michael, lawyer boyfriend, had helped her write the fake police report about me being abusive. On the stand, under oath. The prosecutor's eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. Their defense completely fell apart after that. The jury took only 6 hours to find them guilty. Hannah, Jessica, and Rachel, the stabby squad, were convicted of attempted aggravated assault, conspiracy, and a bunch of other charges. Maria was convicted of conspiracy and accessory charges. Ashley's plea deal got her just probation since she testified. The sentencing hearing was something else. The judge was not happy. He called it one of the most calculated and malicious cases he'd seen in 30 years. He said their status as legal professionals actually made it worse because they knew exactly what they were doing was wrong. Final sentences: Hannah, Stabby McStabberson. 36 months in state prison, no parole for 24 months plus 5 years probation. After release, Jessica, rugby tackle lawyer. Same as Hannah. Rachel, livestream genius. Same as Hannah. Maria, nervous doctor. 18 months probation, 300 hours community service. Ashley, plea deal, 12 months probation, testimony against the others. Katie, still waiting for her separate trial, but she ended up taking a plea deal. More on that in the final chapter. Michael, oh boy. Wait till you hear what happened to him. They all lost their professional licenses. The lawyers got disbarred, duh. The doctor lost her medical license. The finance exec lost all her certifications. Their fancy careers, gone. Their reputations, destroyed. Their freedom, gone for 3 years. I'll update if anything else happens. Thanks for your help and comments.